Hi guys, we know the international break is already dragging and it's only Wednesday as we record this. However, we can now have a look and see the state of play in the Premier League so far. So much has happened in such a short space of time. We're only 29% of the season in, so plenty of mileage left. And we look at the Ante-post and outright markets along with a few recommendations for where you can take a new position. We're also looking ahead to Championship, League One and League Two. And we've got a little treble for you at 356 to 1. And clearly you don't need to stake much on that for a nice return. Let's start off with the Premier League market. As far as the outright is concerned, there's only 3 teams that can win the Premier League title this season in the eyes of the bookmakers. I don't just think that personally, but the bookies are certainly under the illusion that only 3 sides can win the top flight this season, despite the fact that West Ham leapfrogged Liverpool last Sunday. Manchester City are trading at odds on to win yet another title under Pep Guardiola. Chelsea, who are the league leaders, are at 5 to 2, and Liverpool are at 5 to 1. We think that Manchester City are probably too short at odds of 4 to 5. They're up against 2 viable contenders, and they have dropped points in a number of games already this season, despite an impressive display at Old Trafford this year. The issue of not having that sort of prolific striker is it could be continue to be an issue in later parts of the season as well, and we just think they're probably too short. Chelsea probably would be our pick at this point in time at 5 to 2. They're a points machine under Thomas Tuchel, and Lukaku should be back soon to give them that cutting edge as well. There's plenty of squad depth, and we feel as though they can match Manchester City and potentially Liverpool stride for stride with the sheer amount of quality that they've got at their disposal. Or okay, they dropped points against Burnley in the most recent match as well, but they'll be achieving a very high points total. Liverpool are at double that price, 5 to 1. They're not without a chance, and obviously the goal scoring heroics this season of Mohamed Salah have been outstanding, but there have been defensive glitches, and that's despite Virgil van Dijk coming back into the team. Obviously, they conceded 3 goals against West Ham and looked vulnerable, especially aerially from set pieces and crosses. It wasn't the first time we'd seen this happen. Brentford scored 3 goals against them as well. Milan managed to score twice in the Champions League before Liverpool mounted a big comeback, and Atletico Madrid almost got a point against them and coming back again. So defensively, whether or it's the midfield or defence or a combination of both, we do think there are slight midfield issues. Obviously, Harvey Elliott sustaining an injury, and Gini Wijnaldum's departure in the summer has probably left them a bit short in that department as well. So Chelsea would be our pick out of those 3 teams, and we couldn't entertain the idea of any other side winning it. As far as top goal scorer is concerned, we were quite interested by the prices and the actual totals here. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo is second favourite at 8 to 1 for Premier League top scorer, despite the fact that he's only scored 4 in the Premier League so far this season. A lot of his goals have come in the Champions League. I think he scored in every Champions League game for United this season, but has actually struggled to get on the score sheet in the Premier League after bagging 2 goals against Newcastle on his debut. Similarly, Romelu Lukaku is 10 to 1, despite only having 3 goals on the board. And there's definitely a feeling amongst the bookmakers that these 2 fantastic strikers who lit up Serie A last season are going to start filling their boots sooner rather than later, despite the fact Lukaku has got an injury, which he may have recovered from by the time the Premier League starts up again. But he wasn't on a great run at all before he did sustain that injury. Harry Kane is obviously another striker expected to improve, and he's only got 1 goal on the board so far in the Premier League. However, we would rather go for a couple of players at decent each way prices on the basis that you can get a quarter of the odds for the first 4 places. So either of these players finish in the top 4, they don't have to top the scoring charts, then you'd be in the money. Obviously, Mohamed Salah is favourite at 10 to 11, and he's gone 10 goals, and he's obviously the most likely winner of it. But we are going to go for Jamie Vardy at 14 to 1 and Mikel Antonio at 33 to 1. Vardy has got 6 goals so far this season. His goals have dried up a little bit, and he did get an injury a few games ago, but he's on penalties for Leicester. We know the Foxes are one of the better teams in the Premier League. We know that should score plenty of goals this season, and that represents good each way value. Similarly, Mikel Antonio is around the 33-1 mark. Again, he's not scored as many recently as he did at the beginning of the season, but he hasn't shown himself to be too injury prone this season, and did actually just miss one game this season through suspension. He leads the line for an attacking, vibrant West Ham side. We should expect him to get back on the scoring trail soon enough. So we think Vardy and Antonio are good each way bets as far as this market is concerned. Now we're looking at the relegation market. Obviously, we've got Norwich City trading at a heavily short price, and they're currently in the search for a manager. At the time of recording, Frank Lampard's favourite to become the Canaries' boss after Daniel Farke's departure. The only other team trading at odds on for the relegation is Watford under Claudio Ranieri, which is understandable given their modest resources and the fact that they, like Norwich, have become something of an oscillating yo-yo club between Premier League and Championship. Newcastle and Burnley are hovering around the 11-10 mark, and then you've got teams like Brentford, Leeds and Aston Villa. Villa are searching for a new manager. Newcastle have just appointed one. The bet that we would probably place on the Premier League relegation market is Brentford at 9-2. I don't want Brentford to go down this season. I like to see all the promoted teams do well, and I like the way that Brentford have achieved promotion and the way that they're set up, and Thomas Frank himself. But the plain fact is that they have lost their last 4 matches, and they've got some interesting fixtures coming up, starting away to Newcastle, which could be quite a telling fixture as far as the relegation picture is concerned. I think at 9-2, with only 29% of the season played so far, Brentford haven't really got much breathing space now that they've lost those games. They're starting to sort of drop down the table and only just about averaging a point a game at the moment. So with 3 out of the next 4 games being away from home, we think Brentford's price could effectively shorten. They seem to be struggling for goals, and the fact that they've lost 3-1 at Burnley and 2-1 at home to Norwich in the last 2 games really puts them in a tricky place. The last Premier League market we're looking at is the Premier League top 4 market, where you can bet on a team to finish in the top 4. Obviously, as far as City, Chelsea and Liverpool are concerned, they are massive odds on, especially City. So the bookies think that it might just be one spot that's up for grabs, but Manchester United are odds on at the moment, but only just, and certainly the Red Devils at this point in time don't look like Champions League places contenders, really. However, the bet that we would probably place at this point in time, or might look to place, is Tottenham at 7-1. They're 6 points off at the moment, and there isn't an awful lot of good that you can say about Tottenham Hotspur's season so far this season, aside from the fact that they've appointed Antonio Conte, and they do have a squad which is capable of challenging for a top 4 spot. Antonio Conte won the Premier League title with Chelsea 5 seasons ago. And he did that by a 7-point margin in the end. Now, that was despite the fact that Chelsea, the previous season, had finished in 10th place. So this really is a manager who can get a tune out of a football team in a very short space of time as well. Now, I don't know if you remember 5 seasons ago, but Chelsea didn't have the best of starts under Conte. They drew a game with Swansea, they lost against Liverpool, and they were beaten 3-0 at the Emirates. And at that time, there was very much feeling that Chelsea were quite far off the pace, and certainly trading around the 20-1 mark before they embarked on this amazing winning run. Now, it might be that Antonio Conte is unable to achieve such wizardry as far as Tottenham are concerned this season, but I think at odds of 7-1, and with such a small percentage of the season having been played so far, there's so much time for him to certainly get more out of the squad, and also to potentially acquire players in January for a big push. And there's certainly Conte has been brought in and to target a top 4 spot this season, and I think that with Manchester United's vulnerability, West Ham's lack of squad depth, and then you've got Arsenal, Leicester, I think that it's very much up for grabs in the eyes of Tottenham, and I think that 7-1 might not be around should Tottenham get back after the international break and start winning games, as we know that the squad are capable of doing as well. Even under Mourinho, they showed in times where they were capable of looking like they were as good as anyone else in the league. So that's the Premier League done with, and hopefully that gives you a few insights as well. We're just going to have a quick look at the Championship, League One and League Two. And the most interesting market for us is the market to be promoted rather than winning it. Championship, you've got Bournemouth, Fulham and West Brom who are regarded as the only teams who can actually win the title. Although, basically, as long as they finish in the top two places, that's the key aim really for any team in this division, to be automatically promoted to the Premier League. West Brom are potentially the team, or Bournemouth or Fulham. One of them is obviously going to miss out on automatic promotion because there's only 2 spots available. And a team that ends up in the playoffs isn't guaranteed to come through just because they had a much bigger points total, and sometimes it works the opposite way. Out of all the teams that we looked through, and at this point in the season, we would say that the side that were on the best upward curve until very recently were Swansea City, and they're currently at 16-1 to be promoted. They've had a few near misses in recent seasons under Steve Cooper, who's now at Nottingham Forest, but we think Russell Martin might even prove to be a better manager than Cooper. He came in from MK Dons at the cusp of the beginning of the season, there's been some really notable wins in the last few games. They've won 4 of the last 6 matches despite getting hammered by Bournemouth last weekend, and they've achieved victories away to Coventry and against West Brom as well. So Russell Martin is starting to impose his style of play, and it's a very attractive style of play on this Swansea squad, and certainly a top 6 place is within reach for them, and certainly will be a target. And 16-1 seems to be quite an attractive price. There is the outside chance that Swansea could put together some kind of winning run, which might make them even automatic promotion contenders. There is still quite a lot of the season left, so we'd be happy to go with Swansea at that price, certainly. As far as League One is concerned, it looks like more of a wide open affair as far as the automatic spots are concerned. You've got 4 teams trading at single figures prices: Rotherham, Wigan, Wickham and Sunderland. All of them have the potential to finish in the top spot or second spot, and there are plenty of other teams that are just off them that can do that as well. Interestingly, Plymouth are 16-1 despite having... for the title, despite having 33 points from their 16 games, and not necessarily, that's the sort of the data that we've got now suggests the Pilgrims are potentially there to stay. Ryan Lowe's side have really kept the pace fantastically well up near the top of the division, and they drew at Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup last weekend as well. We think that the 5-1 about Plymouth getting promoted this season could be a decent shout. They've got an 8-point gap over the team in 7th place at the moment, and that's not too bad at this point in the season. They're not they're capable of sustaining some decent form, and they've looked really strong, particularly at home park. So we'd say that of all of the teams, 5-1 would be an interest for Plymouth there as well. And then we move on to League Two. We're looking at Swindon Town to be promoted there, trading at 5-2, and the beauty of this bet is that we can potentially win if Swindon finish in one of the top 3 automatic promotion spots, or alternatively if they come up through the playoffs. At this point in the season, there's a real split between Swindon's home and away form. Away from home, they've won 6 and drawn 2 of their 8 away matches, and they recently won 3-0 at Crewe in the FA Cup, where manager Ben Garner described the performance as a comfortable one, which is remarkable really, considering they were away to a team, admittedly bottom of League One, but it just goes to show that this is a really talented team who are full of goals. They've won 7 out of the last 9 matches in all competitions, and hopefully if their issues are overcome at home and they manage to start to arrest this poor home form, then they've got a hell of a chance really, of potentially winning the league, let alone getting promoted. Tyree Simpson is among those who's finding the net with aplomb at the moment, and so we think Swindon at 5-2 could be a decent shout here. So if you combine Swansea to be promoted from the Championship at 16-1, and Plymouth at 5-1, and Swindon at 5-2, not only do you get an interest between now and hopefully the rest of the season, but you also get potential you get treble odds at the moment with Bet365 of 356-1 at the time of recording. So obviously, it goes without saying that if you placed £3 on this treble for speculative interest, the price of a pint, then you could find yourself winning £1,000 should those teams all achieve their dream of promotion this season. We think they're all realistic aims for those particular sides, and they will be the targets. So hopefully that's given you a really good overview of the outright markets at this point in the international break. Stay tuned for plenty of tips coming your way. We're going to be doing a Premier League video, and WhatAcca.com will be serving up lots of predictions and tips for the international break and the World Cup qualifiers. But then next week we'll be looking back at the bread and butter of the domestic action, and hopefully we can scoop a few winning accumulator tips during the month of November. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe if you do like this video, and we'll be in touch with another video really soon. Cheers, guys.